Thank you, Captain Pete. I'd also like to add my welcome to this first virtual Board of Directors meeting for our association. 2 years ago, I discussed the need for trade unionism, open and honest communication, and the importance of a robust pilot reporting system. I'm happy to report today that under the leadership of Captain Pete, this officer team has embraced these ideas. I could not imagine dealing with a crisis of this magnitude without these three key leadership objectives. It has been my honor to work alongside these outstanding individuals. Thank you, Joe, Bill, Joseph, Russ, and Paul. On behalf of this leadership team, we know that you all have been in the trenches with us, working tirelessly on behalf of your pilots. Through this turmoil, we are doing everything we can to maintain the safety, health, and security gains we've made. We're also taking steps to attract the flying public back to our industry and airline travel by restoring the confidence that they will remain safe and healthy. As the National Safety Coordinator, I have the honor of leading ALPA's Air Safety Organization, the largest non-governmental aviation safety organization in the world. I coordinate and focus the efforts of more than 425 pilots. They are the expertise and credibility of the association when it comes to topics of aviation safety, security, jump seat, and pilot assistance. These four disciplines, or pillars of the ASO, create a synergy that works together as the association has responded to these events. Make no mistake, having the safety, security, jump seat, and pilot assistance leadership of the ASO all together under one umbrella, the ASO has proven to be invaluable to our mission as they have worked hand in hand, day in and day out. Open dialogue and communication, as well as maintaining a shared mental model, as Captain Pete calls it, have all been vital to our success. With all the events of the past 2 years, we have worked to ensure information is readily and quickly shared among groups and committees throughout the entire organization, and doubly so in the wake of the COVID pandemic. Every resource needed has been called up. When we first started to see signs of just how severely this pandemic would harm our industry and impact our members in both the United States and Canada, this National Officer Team pledged to routinely check in with our pilot representatives and volunteers who work so hard to put in place the exact resources needed. Every week, we are coordinating calls with you and the rest of the MEC teams. On those calls, I see the unceasing commitment from our pilot volunteers and staff and hear the dedication in their voices. I truly couldn't be prouder. As I mentioned earlier, the past 2 years have seen their share of challenges. After the crash of the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, which led to the worldwide grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX, ALPA remained front and center in discussions with the FAA, Transport Canada, and Boeing regarding returning the aircraft to service. The FAA recently issued a proposed airworthiness directive for the 737 MAX, which the ASO reviewed and drafted comments to the FAA and coordinated those comments with the Alaska, United, and WestJet MECs. Last month, I hosted an internal ALPA meeting to provide an update on the MAX progress and discussed ALPA's return to service criteria that we developed at the end of last year. It was a very productive discussion. One of the next steps in returning the MAX to service was the Joint Operation Evaluation Board, JOEB, which was held last month in Gatwick. ALPA had 4 members participating, 2 pilots from United and 2 from WestJet, and they provided insights and perspectives that only a line pilot can offer. Following the JOEB activity, the FAA released the Flight Standardization Board proposal, which establishes the minimum retraining requirements. This proposal is out for review, and ALPA's team is currently drafting comments. Everyone at the table is looking to us for our experience and judgment, since we are the ones who will be flying these aircraft every day. I can assure you that our voice matters and is being heard loud and clear. As fellow airline pilots, I don't have to remind you that the most vital safety feature in an airliner is the physical presence of at least 2 experienced, well-trained, and well-rested pilots on the flight deck. But despite the clear evidence of this, special interest groups continue to push for reducing the flight crew on board airliners, possibly down to even a single pilot, to cut labor costs. It's inconceivable. The presence of at least 2 pilots on board our airliners not only contributes to a proactive, risk-predictive safety culture, it's the reason why North America air safety system is so safe today. It's the gold standard of the world. Current technologies can't adequately replicate or report the sensory information that you know is there. Sounds, smells, vibrations. A flight crew depends on the safety operation of the airplane in the real world conditions. We know this, and the flying public agrees with us. ALPA is committed to stopping any and all attempts to take the flight crew members off the flight deck. During the last year's Air Safety Forum, ALPA released a white paper entitled "The Dangers of Single Pilot Operations" that articulates our position and presented the facts and data that clearly reinforce it. As we continue to fight to keep at least 2 pilots on the flight deck, we continue to also press for 1 level of safety for all of our carriers. Numerous safety and security gaps still exist for our pilots that fly all-cargo flights. Many all-cargo aircraft lack intrusion-resistant cockpit doors. Aircraft rescue and firefighting equipment is not required at many airports during the hours that our cargo aircraft operate. Some ramp areas used by cargo aircraft are not properly designated security identification display areas, and supernumeraries, often animal handlers, carrying large needles and tranquilizers, the means by which they could quickly disable flight crew, lack proper screening. Additionally, they are still under the decades-old non-science-based flight time and duty time requirements. How is this possible when we have passenger aircraft now flying under those flight time and duty time requirements, flying all cargo? What's the difference? One safety for all. ALPA worked in Congress to get the Safe Skies Act introduced, which we would apply the updated science-based flight time duty time regulations of Part 117 to all cargo operations. There is simply no reason for all cargo pilots to operate under a different standard of safety and security, as all aircraft share the same airspace. In recent years, our airspace has seen increased use from new entrants, including unmanned aircraft systems and commercial spacecraft. ALPA continues to lead the charge in Canada and the United States to ensure safe integration of those new entities without adding risk to our airspace. As a member of the FAA's Next Gen Advisory Committee subcommittee, I represent ALPA's unbending position that safety must be a priority in our airspace. In addition to that role on the NAC subcommittee, I chair the FAA's Flight Standards, Transparency, Performance, Accountability, Efficiency, Aviation Rulemaking Committee, fast-paced ARC. And I'm a member of the FAA's Safety Oversight and Certification Advisory Committee, SOCAC. Just last week, the FAA asked me to chair the SOCAC subcommittee, whose first tasking is looking at the workforce development both at the FAA and in the industry. We share the same safety stance for the increased use of the skies by commercial space endeavors, launching payloads in orbit and beyond. In October of 2019, ALPA with the Commercial Space Federation jointly hosted a one-day conference where we presented our vision for the integration of commercial space through our lens of safety. To move from today's accommodation of space activities, we must build systems that create better interoperability via data exchange, improve coordination, improve situational awareness in the near to midterm, and a long-term future where space operators are able to fly and file flight plans like any other operator in the airspace with separation standards and a harmonized safety approach. Now, when it comes to safety, the airline industry and our ALPA pilot volunteers have decades of experience and wisdom to provide to this growing commercial space sector. It is our responsibility to impact the safety lessons we've learned so that others don't have to repeat them. From the very beginning of the COVID pandemic, ALPA recognized the need for regulatory mandate to follow the guidance of the CDC and the FAA in keeping our aircraft clean and sanitized. In addition, we worked to ensure that crew members were provided with personal protective equipment, and they were notified quickly in the event of a COVID-positive employee or passenger test. As Captain DePete noted, with the data we gathered through DART reports that our members submitted, we were able to press for positive change, and we've seen things dramatically improved in those areas in a short period of time. Data remains the lifeblood of our safety work, and we still need to be able to provide the FAA and industry data regarding these issues our members are facing in this crisis. ALPA's COVID DART program, overseen by First Officer Paul Ryder, our National Resource Coordinator, serves as a premier data collection tool that allows ASO pilot volunteers and subject matter experts to address members' concerns. While, understandably, COVID health issues have been the topic of the majority of the reports, we continue to urge our pilots to report any COVID-related jump seat, training, furlough, and security concerns through the DART system or your own pilot group reporting system. We encourage pilots that do not have their own systematic reporting system to consider implementing DART on your property. Get with Paul and get in line. Because of ALPA's efforts, the FAA made progress with some of the health and safety items in the 2018 FAA Reauthorization Act that would have typically have taken years to implement. For instance, the long-standing FAA oxygen mask rule when a single pilot in the flight deck was amended, raising the altitude required from flight level 250 to 410. And automatic acceptance of reports to the Aviation Safety Action Program, or ASAP, was also expedited and included in a recent update to the FAA Advisory Circular. We've seen positive movement concerning aircraft cleaning and sanitation based solely on ALPA's advocacy efforts. As Captain DePete mentioned, the RTCA formed Special Committee 241 to develop guidance and standards on flight deck and cabin cleaning and sanitizing. ALPA is providing significant resources in this endeavor, including chairing a subgroup and serving as the lead writer of the final document. And I must give credit to the leadership of the RTCA to get this done in a period of 90 days, with 90 people contributing to this work product. It's amazing. Thank you. With respect to training during COVID, we're still raising concerns regarding the FAA's approval of airlines' request for extensions to recurrent training and takeoff and landing currency requirements. We're seeing some slight improvements based on our efforts. Recently, the FAA approved another request by Airlines for America, but this time, based on our comments, it included a requirement that the airlines conduct safety risk assessments. The FAA also indicated that this may be the last of the extensions. Our Training Council and Human Factors and Training Group are working diligently to prevent these exemptions related to COVID from becoming a permanent new way of doing business. Our Pilot Assistance Group, led by John Taylor, along with Dr. Quay Snyder, ALPA's Air Medical Advisor, has been at the forefront, working tirelessly during these challenging times, including addressing concerns related to medical certification, and the subsequent medical certification extensions issued by both the FAA and Transport Canada. The entire pilot assistance group has been working nonstop. I cannot thank this group enough. Truly, I can't imagine our association during this pandemic without the Pilot Peer Support Program. While several pilot groups already have similar programs in place, having this national program accessible to every member has been tremendously critical during this incredibly stressful time. This network of pilot volunteers who are available to listen and offer confidential, non-judgmental support is an incredibly invaluable tool for all of our members. In June, the program became a standalone discipline under the pilot assistance umbrella of the ASO. I'd also like to once again thank Captain DePete for his foresight and leadership as the previous National Safety Coordinator who stood this program up for our members. Thank you, Joe. Now, it would be easy and understandable to let other safety and security, pilot assistance, and jump seat issues fall through the cracks during this pandemic. But I am extremely gratified to say that our ASO pilots and staff, that hasn't happened. For example, we continue to oppose the proposal to develop a 5G network across the United States that interferes with GPS navigation. We are urging the Federal Communications Commission to reverse course on this order that would allow Legato to transmit in a radio wave spectrum that will interfere with satellite communications and navigation bands that include GPS and SATCOM signals. We have many allies in this fight, and ALPA has worked to create a large coalition of like-minded stakeholders and government regulators who have joined together to raise concerns regarding this FCC order. This issue is not over, and we'll continue to work together to protect aviation safety from this harmful interference. ALPA also continues to engage with NAV Canada on ADS-B-based services, as well as discussions regarding reduced oceanic separation standards when using ADS-B. And our work in the far north hasn't stopped. We continue to publish and push for more improvements to airport infrastructure for a large aircraft diversion that carry hundreds of passengers. We continue to push back on the FAA's efforts to implement RNAV approaches that require some of our members to fly parallel approaches without RNAV system that includes approved vertical guidance and fully coupled precision approach capability. As a member of Next Gen's advisory subcommittee, I continue to advance ALPA's position, and in August, the FAA asked the committee to develop an industry plan for overcoming the lack of approved vertical guidance. And I'm pleased to report that some progress has been made on this front. We continue to keep a watchful eye on the use of non-motion flight training devices in pilot training and oppose their use in qualification events. In 2019, ALPA worked with one of our pilot groups whose airline was attempting to use Level 7 non-motion flight training devices for continual qualification. We brought this to the FAA's attention. Specifically, Captain DePete and I met with the newly appointed administrator, Steve Dixon, to express our vehement opposition to this proposal. Based on that meeting, along with a strongly worded letter that was sent to the agency, Congress intervened at our request, and that air carrier has been instructed to cease all CQ evaluations in these non-motion devices. One victory, but the ASO has not let up. We continue to work with the MEC to make it crystal clear that the FAA that the airline's insistence on using these devices for training is inappropriate. After learning this year, the air carrier was now using these Level 7 non-motion devices in initial qualification prior to the final check ride. Captain DePete sent a letter to the FAA asking the agency to elevate the priority of a Part 121 rulemaking that would address how these devices should appropriately be used in airline training and qualification programs. As we urge the FAA to act soon, We've implemented a DART program for those pilots to collect data from pilots regarding these experiences with these level 7 devices. These firsthand reports we receive will be crucial for our advocacy efforts on the Hill and with the FAA. Our aviation security team also continues to keep a careful eye on those looking to intentionally harm our planes, passengers, and fellow pilots. In the late summer of 2019, the Transportation Security Administrator blindsided flight crews, implementing a new screening requirement at known crew member checkpoints. During an intense period of discussions, much of which was educating TSA and informing members on the daily developments, ALPA succeeded in finding a middle ground with the TSA and Airlines for America that centered on improved training, signage, and responsibility. At the same time, a new random screening system of known crew member access holders was developed nationwide in the United States. ALPA has continued to meet with the TSA and A4A as recently as last month to work on preserving and returning known crew member to its original effectiveness and efficiency for our members. There is still much work that needs to be done, but I remain encouraged by the continued receptiveness from both the A4A and the TSA to continue our conversations, and we continue to discuss inclusion of our Canadian members in this valuable risk management and time-saving program. Another security achievement during this pandemic has been maintaining the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program. In March, the Federal Air Marshal Services closed all FFDO training venues. As part of reopening these facilities, the service wasn't going to grant a waiver for those who were unable to complete their training by the end of the eligibility period, causing some pilots' deputizations to expire. Fortunately, based on ALPA's advocacy efforts, a waiver was granted and training resumed on July 1st. On the all-cargo security front, we continued to demand one level of security. The TSA issued a request for information on compiling with upcoming international security standards, and ALPA submitted comments in support of subjecting all cargo to 100% screening before loading on our aircraft. Our aviation jumpsuit team continues to work on enhancements to the ALPA app that will eventually include flight schedules to aid pilots' commuting plans, with the emphasis on incorporating both all cargo and passenger flight schedules in one app. As we all know, the jump seat is a privilege, not a right, and the pilot in command is the final authority. We continue to remind pilots of the importance of adhering to the airline's COVID policies while using the jump seat, including complying with the carrier's mask policy. I want to thank the jump seat team for their diligence in turning their motto, "No pilot left behind," into reality, especially in the wake of the closures of Compass, Trans-States, and ExpressJet. They made sure that those pilots could get home. Despite our current circumstances, our long-term plans for growth remain in place. We developed a new introductory ASO course, ALPA 101, Fundamental ALPA Service Training. This new course is the foundation upon which all other safety, security, pilot assistance, and jump seat courses are built. It is designed to help orient our new volunteers on their role, providing a basic set of knowledge, skills, and attitudes to progress in the ASO or MEC, specifically, the specific training required. In addition, a new Safety 101 course helps students to master basic set of foundational knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to effectively serve within the ALPA safety structure. We've also created a similar jump seat specific course. As you know, the past 2 years has been unprecedented, and it is likely the next 2 will be as well. Knowing that, I cannot stress how important it is for you to remain engaged and to encourage your pilots to be part of the association's wide conversation as well. In my role as the ALPA's Political Action Committee Treasurer, ALPA PAC continues to stand strong and support elected officials who protect professional pilots. From January 2019 to the present, ALPA PAC has raised more than $4.2 million from more than 13,700 ALPA members. Despite the downturn, we're still expected to have a strong year for the PAC. As we work to protect our members and our industry, our PAC is essential, and we continue to press our issues in the political arena. In this election cycle, the PAC has distributed more than $4.6 million in pilot partisan contributions to Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives. Now more than ever, it is essential that our political outreach stays strong. These times have been and will continue to be difficult. But as I scan the faces on this screen and come here today with the knowledge of all the work our pilot representatives, volunteers, and staff continue to do on a daily basis, I know that we are prepared. We've been preparing for nearly 90 years. I know we'll move forward confidently and in a position of strength. Thank you again for your time and attention this afternoon.